Analyses complete. Neither segment of the Tacitus remained within the Daedalus Complex's core. Cabal's core components were not found at the site. Data conduits suggest that Cabal remotely controlled the site. Tertiary connections are still hot. Cabal continues to maintain access to the Daedalus Complex, attempting to access Cabal's communications links. Accessing node communication links. Stand by. Connection established. Localizing Cabal's command transmission system.
Initiate culling procedures. Organisms deemed weak are to be terminated. Remaining humans are to be secured for processing at my cybernetic facilities.
Analysis of recent Cabal troop movements would indicate that Colony 6 is Cabal's next target for civilian harvesting. It is imperative that you alert the civilian population to the threat Cabal poses.
Well, welcome back, Commander.
We have lost contact with the GDI base in this region. It is theorized that Cabal is to blame.
There's something about seeing a small-headed or small version of Cabal and me really wanting a Tamagotchi based on him. There's just something about it.
Uh-oh. Cabal is taking prisoners? This can't be.
There's something about the delivery of uh-oh.
Those poor bastards. Cabal has started harvesting people for Cyborgs. I must get back and warn the citizens of Trondheim.
It just doesn't sound all that urgent.
There are several civilian villages in the area. Inform them of Cabal's intent.
Sir, you got it.
So, as the objectives have graciously told us, we have to go around, let people know that Cabal's actually really bad, and maybe you shouldn't, patronize the cyborgs that are killing people everywhere. Also, somehow, these civilians are just full of ammunition and God knows what else. Also, remember when I was saying that the only real way to take out a Reaper is to just do this crazy, separate everybody and make sure that the net doesn't catch more than one person at a time? Yeah. That took a long time to kill that Reaper. It was not particularly fun.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Waiting order. Yes, sir.
So, all things considered, since you already have a bunch of buildings already in the northeast corner of the map, you can... It's probably a better idea just to plant your MCV at your initial location that you find it. Especially since as soon as you do this, Nod forces start attacking your base. I don't know if selling them kind of messes with the with their script or whatever, because I kind of expected them to keep attacking. But I don't know.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Infantry reporting.
It was nice of that Orca Transport to drop an engineer.
Infantry reporting.
Makes it a little easier to get units from one area to the next. It's also particularly vital to do so, especially if you build your two bases, or build a base separate from the one you start with, if only because one has to keep in mind that we're on an ice level, and, well, we've seen harvesters, and their pathing isn't exactly the best. So if you're not careful and you don't repair either bridge, in I guess an attempt to make it harder for Nod to ever do anything, basically all you're doing is setting yourself up to die because, well, the harvester is just going to drive on the ice and it's going to fall right through it.
Building.
I'm sure someone has mentioned, or I remember someone mentioning there's a hidden like weight property to units. I forget if I've actually seen it, and I should probably just take the time to look it up right now. But the most important thing regarding all this is that you can never quite guarantee if you'll come across cracked ice, as we saw on that lower cliff there.
Yes, sir?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what generated that. It's a little annoying.
Yes, sir?
But as long as you don't have like any units there, you should obviously be fine. I don't think there's any I don't think there's much of it in the way of it ever triggering the blue Tiberium either. So I don't think you have to worry about that either. I guess maybe if the blue Tiberium ever grew because you didn't touch it long enough, but again, I don't know. I don't really feel like it's ever gonna come into play.
Waiting order. Loud and clear. Waiting orders. Unit reporting. Infantry reporting.
Insufficient funds.
Unit reporting. Sir.
Unit ready.
Unit ready. Sir. Sir. Infantry reporting.
Building.
I'm on it. Orders.
Construction complete. Unit ready. Building.
Sir. Moving out. Unit ready. On my way.
Alright, so a harvester's weight is equals 1 in the rules ini file. I forget if that causes an ice collapse, so let's see if I can find the rules there too. Ice?
Unable to comply. Building in progress. Building.
Alright, so an ice will crack if a unit weighs more
Training.
than 2.
Training.
And ice will automatically break if a unit weighs more than 4. And then think of if cracked ice, blah blah blah, it just makes any subsequent unit fall through. So maybe harvesters can't fall through the ice. I still wouldn't risk it. I don't trust it for whatever reason. As one might imagine, just with how much time I've already spent and the size of the map, it's a pretty extensive one. Thinking back on it, it kind of reminds me of Red Alert's Allied campaign, the final mission. There's multiple bridges, multiple paths to get to the enemy force. There seems to be defenses spread out between them. You get a lot of cash from trucks and whatever found around the map. I don't know, there's just something about it that reminds me of it. Maybe it's not a you know, perfect 100% like copy or anything, but I don't know, it feels similar. Maybe it's just the fact that it's, you know, winter. I don't know.
Infantry reporting. Loud and clear. Loud and you got it.
Construction
Got it. Loud and
complete.
got it. Loud and clear. Infantry reporting.
Unit lost.
Waiting orders. Sir. Sir. Unit reporting, sir. Waiting orders. Unit ready. No problem. Yes,
Unit
sir.
lost. New construction options.
Yes, sir. Waiting order. Waiting order.
So the name of the game for this mission is going to be 2 specific units, and you're going to want, I don't want to say to abuse them, but certainly make the most of them. The first, obviously, being Titans, because, well, they're Titans, and if you haven't been building hordes of Titans constantly, I don't know what else to tell you, really. But the second unit you want to start taking advantage of by a large margin is jump jet infantry. You know, say what you will about how fragile they are, and how they don't necessarily do all that much damage when compared to, say, Orca Bomber, or in some cases even the Orca Fighter. They're, one, way easier to keep on the front lines. They will absolutely just do a ton of damage over time, and since there's not that much that Nod has in order to defend against them, look, you should be taking advantage of it, is all I'm going to say. Like right now, I've only got 5, and I'm going to steadily bump those numbers up because it's the only way to effectively use jump jet infantry anyways. If it's not immediately obvious, this is one of those levels where you have to destroy everything on the map. And considering the size, yeah, it's slightly annoying. And this one is legitimately destroy everything on the map, not what I claimed last time. Or in a previous video, I should say.
No problem. Infantry reporting. Awaiting order. Awaiting orders.
You make this easy, flesh bag.
Unit ready. No problem. Infantry reporting. I'm taking heavy fire. Unit ready. Yes, sir. Waiting order.
Unit ready.
For how deadly those SAM sites are, there's not too many of them on the map, so yeah, just take advantage of that fact.
Waiting orders. Unit reporting. Infantry reporting. Waiting orders. You got it. You got it. You got it. Yes, sir.
Also, this is one of the reasons why you want Titans en masse. They're just... I mean, their shots are instant. The way they target is easy and very intuitive. You don't have to worry about, say, like if it was disc throwers, the long like recharge time and the bouncing mechanic. It's just, I want to test to see if there's a unit there. Boom. Does it display anything? If so, you've found your target.
Sir. Awaiting orders.
Granted, an MSA might be nice, but it's still also one of those things where I'm just not going to trust it.
Unit orders received. Unit ready.
Getting an MSA, then keeping it alive, and then having to micromanage it, I just always feel like I can do more damage faster with the Titans.
No problem. You got it. No problem. On my way. No problem. Yes, sir. On my way.
Obviously, there's always the unfortunate part where, you know, you kind of have to sift through a lot to find certain buildings.
Destroy CABAL.
And thankfully, the stealth generator was one of them there. I don't have to suffer through too much more on that base.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. On my way. Infantry reporting. Loud and clear. Good as done.
Unit lost.
Waiting orders. Sir.
Unit lost.
He was gonna die anyways.
Unit ready.
I'm sure if I had some medics nearby, I'd probably be better all around for the jump jet infantry, but I don't know. It wasn't something I thought of really investing into.
Construction complete. Cannot deploy here.
Unit reporting.
Building.
On my way. Sir. No problem. No problem.
Base under attack.
Unit ready. Yes, sir. You got it. Yes.
Construction complete.
On my way. On my way. You got it.
If only I had like a super weapon, like a nuke or something.
Sir? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. On my way. Yes, sir. On my way.
I know I don't have the ion cannon, but it's not like it's necessarily tied to the USS Philadelphia.
Waiting orders. Unit ready.
Kinda wish I had something, you know,
Sir?
a point target weapon that could easily vaporize
Sir?
anything.
Unit reporting. Sir? Waiting orders. Unit reporting. Unit reporting. Unit reporting.
Insufficient
Yes,
funds.
sir.
Also, yeah, that's the dangers of a fully loaded Tiberium harvester. You end up with these moments where if it's near something, it'll absolutely do damage to it. And if it's weakened enough, then yeah, you've got a makeshift car bomb.
Unit reporting. Unit ready.
Construction.
I don't think the idea ever really took off for people using it that way. Like, yes, you could, and yes, it was interesting. But the issue always became that a harvester is worth a lot of money, and if you can fill it with blue Tiberium, yes, it will do, or at least should do more damage, unless everything I know about harvesters is wrong. But the main issue is that you're giving up a lot of money to make a bomb, which isn't guaranteed to be successful at all. So, yeah, you generally want to skip it. It's interesting, but, you know, that's about it. So, Cabal's forces, since it's not technically Nod, are getting a bunch of free units, and it's kind of why you want to assault that location I was looking at earlier as soon as possible, rather than delaying it. Because, well, if you can stop them from getting free units, that's always great. I forget if it can still produce new units, even if no civilians are left inside. So, I don't know. It's best to just take out the processing buildings rather than any of the people inside the pen. As always, if you start to run low on funds, or if Tiberium fields start to get much further away, your best bet is always to just build more refineries. You don't really want to sell any, just because selling them reduces the number of through points, in the sense that they have less spots to deposit, so Harvester spends more time waiting at a refinery for the next vehicle to stop. For example, if one unit is in the bottom right corner, a harvester that is, and that harvester manages to finish its run before any of the other harvesters, it'll pick a free refinery. I think it's supposed to pick the nearest one that's available, but if that happens to be the one in the top left corner, it's going to go all the way to that corner, deposit its stuff, and then be done with its move, and return back to its normal collection duties. Meanwhile, you may have 2, 3, or even 4, if not more, obviously, other harvesters that are just waiting in the queue, and they could all dump their stuff before the first harvester's even done getting to the refinery. So, just keep it in mind. It's kind of why I also don't ever sell my first refinery, when people suggest to build 2 refineries and sell one of them, that way you have money from selling one and the free harvester. I don't know, it's just not really something I ever think of doing. I don't really find it all that beneficial. Although I'm sure that economically it's way better to do so.
Unit detected. Unit detected. Unit ready.
thinking about it, I think the Juggernaut does shoot slightly faster than the artillery.
Cloaked unit detected.
But,
Building.
man, I'm never gonna get over how much I don't like Juggernauts.
Cloaked unit detected.
Sir, awaiting orders. Unit ready. On my way. Awaiting orders. Loud and clear.
Cloaked unit detected. Training.
Sir,
Unit ready.
awaiting orders. Sir, moving out.
Also, I don't know if it's because I don't have Juggernauts on guard mode, but
Cloaked unit
they
detected.
don't seem to like attacking automatically.
Ready.
Units still attack automatically, but buildings, doesn't seem to be the case.
Ready.
Yes, sir.
I don't know, there's something weird going on.
Waiting.
Cloaked
Yes, sir.
unit detected.
Sir.
But yeah, this is why you should have a newfound appreciation of jump jet infantry. There's definitely nothing that Nog really has in order to prevent you attacking. Sure, attack cycles here and there, but which is also kind of what proves that attack cycles don't need to be generals in order to attack air. So maybe that's like a thing that was patched in via CNCnet, or it's just an early revision and a patch removed that inability until you upgrade it. In any case, you don't really come across much in terms of air defense, so go hog wild. Just get a bunch of jump jet infantry, and minus maybe one or two other spots we'll see some SAM sites, you kind of have free roam to do whatever you want. Obviously, that should be to target the construction yard, and then any money collection sources, and then unit production.
Infantry reporting.
But, you know, you do you.
Sir.
As soon as the construction yard's done, you're generally free to engage in the rest of the enemy units however you want.
You got it. I'm taking heavy fire.
Although preferably not by letting, your jump jet infantry land on the ground so that they can promptly get destroyed. Which is, like, what's going to be guaranteed to happen.
Infantry reporting.
It's like the only downside to jump jet infantry. If they stayed in the air, they'd be so much better.
Sir. Unit reporting. Sir. Sir.
Unit ready.
Awaiting order. Yes, sir. Sir. Flying. Unit reporting. Unit reporting. Awaiting orders.
Unit ready.
Loud and clear.
Unit ready.
Awaiting orders. Yes, sir.
Yeah, jump jet infantry, definitely one of those things where you can get a critical mass of them and they just get
Awaiting orders.
really good.
Unit reporting.
Now, that being said, if Cabal was to go around producing rocket infantry, and it won't because infantry, patui, it's Cyborgs all the way, just seems a shame that none of the Cyborgs can shoot up. Although I guess drugs wouldn't really help them out, but that's a different matter entirely.
Unit
Awaiting
ready.
orders. Infantry reporting. Loud and clear. Awaiting orders.
Yeah, it's kind of obnoxious to see so many tick tanks. They should most likely be doing something like, I don't know, attacking and or trying to, have a better active defense of the base, but look, it's 2000 or something. The AI is not all that great.
Ready.
This is why you play multiplayer after a while.
Awaiting orders.
Oh, well, it seems that because there's no power, the SAM sites won't shoot, which is perfect for me.
Unit ready.
Waiting
I'm just not really at a point where I can take out tick tanks very quickly, and my Titans just still aren't at a point where I have enough of them. Or at least, maybe it'd just be too tough, or I don't know.
Yes, sir. Infantry reporting. Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
I should definitely be thinking about getting my Titans up there at this point.
Unit reporting. Sir. Waiting order. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, did I ever mention the Juggernaut can't shoot while moving? And it has to deploy to shoot just like artillery? And if you ever come across something you don't have backup for your Juggernauts, they're kind of guaranteed to die. Just another reason why, you know, I don't really like them. And sure, it's the same thing for artillery, but you know, I'm just gonna go back to the whole artillery is not as inaccurate as Juggernauts appear to be. Well, yeah, it seems like it doesn't matter if there's civilians or not.
Infantry reporting. Sir.
And yeah, you do have to destroy every building in that thing.
Reporting. Waiting order. Sir.
Just taking out the hospital isn't enough.
Accomplished.